Good afternoon and welcome to Columbus Waterworks virtual town hall meeting. My name is Vic Birchfield and I will be your moderator for today's town hall. Our topic for today is to discuss our rate strategy, how funds generated from rates are used, and why this matters to our community. Before moving into the presentations, we would like to share with you the following brief video.
Providing Columbus residents with clean, safe drinking water is a 365-day-a-year commitment.
I test water samples every hour to ensure your water meets all federal and state requirements.
And I test our water daily to make sure that our source water is safe and healthy.
I maintain fire hydrants for the city, make sure they work properly.
And we trying to repair water lines to make sure you have water throughout the night.
And I check to make sure your meters are working properly.
Columbus Waterworks, serving our community.
Welcome back. It is now time for us to move into our presentations. We will have two presenters this afternoon. Our first presenter is Mr. Steve Davis, President of Columbus Waterworks, who will review our Columbus Waterworks rate strategy. Following Mr. Davis will be Ms. Alex Hinton, who is over our financial services and will review the financial planning side of the rate strategy. After the presentations, we will have a questions and answer period to review questions previously submitted by email prior to the meeting. Those of you watching now may also submit questions live through YouTube chat. Please note that you will need a YouTube account to use this feature. To help us answer your questions, we also have joining us Mr. Billy Cobb, who is over our field services group, and Mr. Kevin White, who is over our engineering group. We will now turn the meeting over to Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Vic, and welcome to all of you that are joining us this evening to learn a little more about our rate strategy. I'd like to thank Vic and Alex for participating on the presentation, and Billy and Kevin for helping out with the questions, as well as Alex. And also behind the scenes, our IT and communications group, thank you for your help in putting this together, our first virtual town hall meeting. And I hope it's informative to you. We're trying to better educate our customers on kind of what goes on behind the faucet in terms of how we determine rates and why we need to have rate increases. So with that, I'll kind of walk through the presentation. I think on the first bullet point here, we can all agree that nobody likes a rate increase. But I think we can also agree on the second bullet point that everybody likes clean drinking water and environmentally healthy streams, rivers, and lakes. So kind of what this presentation will hopefully do is try to connect those to you in a way that you'll understand why we have these rate increases and kind of the strategy behind why we do it. And kind of hitting the bottom line, the last bullet here is we are proposing a 3.75% rate increase across the board this year. We went to our board on Monday and got their approval to go into a public comment period. The board has not yet approved this rate increase. So what we're doing now is just reaching out to the customers and stakeholders kind of as a public comment period to get feedback. We will take that and then we will go back to our board in November with any with a summary of the feedback and any adjustments if necessary to our recommendation to the board. So some reasons for the rate increase. I got two slides here that hopefully will help you understand why we feel that our strategy on rate increases is appropriate. Me personally, I see that our rate increase strategy really helps CWW meet its purpose and its vision. Our purpose is that we protect our neighbors by providing essential water, the fuel of life. And certainly infrastructure is a big part of that. It's also our employees that operate that infrastructure, maintain it, plan it, fund it. Just the whole team kind of surrounds our effort around maintaining and operating the infrastructure. So first bullet, properly functioning pipes, pumps, and plants are essential for CWW to deliver the clean, reliable drinking water and to convey the wastewater for treatment to protect our streams and river. You'll see kind of in the faded background of this slide, if you can see it where you're viewing, that is an aerial view of our water plant up on River Road. And I think you just kind of get a magnitude of the scope of that facility. It has lots of concrete, steel, pipes, mechanical, electrical, all kind of systems and a number of people, dedicated operators and management and support staff that operate that facility to get that clean drinking water headed your way. Second bullet, failing infrastructure puts public health, drinking water and environmental health, sewer overflows at higher risk. If we don't reinvest in the infrastructure that you're looking at in this faded background, it makes it much more difficult for our operators to deliver clean drinking water if the systems aren't properly maintained and renewed and replaced. Parts of this water plant date back to 1914 or 15, I think. So parts of this plant are over 100 years old, and it's still functioning because over the years we've done a good job of maintaining, renewing, and replacing them. Third bullet here is CWW's responsibility as stewards of the public and environmental health relative to the water and sewer systems to maintain, operate, and operate them at a level to meet state and federal regulatory requirements. We're a highly regulated business, and that is for the protection of our customers. And we do a really good job in meeting the regulatory requirements. However, if our infrastructure begins to fail, it certainly makes compliance much more difficult, and there could be violations. There are a number of cities around the Southeast, around the country, that for whatever reasons, their infrastructure fell in bad repair, and they begin to have compliance violations, and the EPA stepped in and mandated under consent decrees that they make substantial improvements in the infrastructure of their systems. And that was at a tremendous cost to those systems and the customers that relied on those systems. So CWW, by doing due diligence in how we manage our infrastructure assets, certainly are trying to avoid that. I think we're a long way from any kind of situation like that, because I think our team does a great job in keeping up with the condition of our assets and operating them in a sound way. So that's certainly don't want to be on that EPA list at any time in the future. Aging and wear and tear on infrastructure, it's just relentless. It's ongoing. It'd be nice for us to say, look, we're going to take a couple of years off and just kick back and hope everything just stays the same. But we know it won't. With the system, it continues to require a lot of attention by our staff and a lot of response to keep failures to a minimum. The cost of replacing failed infrastructure under emergency situations can be 3 to 5 times what it would be in a planned competitive bid situation. So you could imagine if we have a line break in the middle of the night and we had to call out our forces, contract forces, we had to set up emergency traffic control, had to start searching for replacement components. Just the cost impact of that are much higher than when you can avoid those kind of failures by doing planned replacement. And so our vision at CWW is to be recognized by our customers and our employees as providing the most caring experiences. And you might could say, well, if you really care about me as a customer, why are you raising my rates? And I would say, because we do care about you, we raise your rates as incrementally and as minimally as we can in order to keep providing you the high quality water and wastewater services that we do. So hopefully you will understand our logic in that, and you will agree with that statement. Failing pipes under roadways put the traveling public at risk. That is, we see that on news, all over the country. Those things happen. They happen here on occasion, but we try to stay out in front of that and avoid that. And if we do notice some failure occurring, we respond promptly and are very protective of the traveling public to make sure nobody's injured. So through these comments, I hope you'll agree with me that failure is not an acceptable option. We have to maintain our infrastructure, and we can do that just by good planning. I think is kind of the message here. But infrastructure failure will occur if planned, prudent investments are not made to renew and replace our water and sewer systems. These minimum annual rate increases that we've had over a decade help sustain the consistency of that planning, financing, designing, constructing, and operating the systems that are essential for this safe water. So we have a very systematic approach to how we manage our assets and the infrastructure systems to keep them operable. We have minimal annual rate increases that we began through a rolling financial analysis back in 2002. And we do that as a means to help levelize the cost increases to our customers so that it minimizes the impact. If we didn't have this long-term view of what our financial needs are in terms of infrastructure and O&M cost, and we just kind of did knee-jerk reactions, then our rates would just be up and down like a yo-yo. It'd be very difficult for our customers to try to balance that in their household budgets. So we believe that the long-term approach that we've been taking a look back, a look ahead in terms of cost and managing our system gives us the best way to try to minimize the cost impacts to customers, but yet maintain the system in a way we can provide reliable, clean water and safe environmental protection. And so it's not all about the infrastructure. We got a great team of people, and they're out there working 24/7, 365. I think some of these pictures are probably taken in daylight and probably reasonable good working conditions, but we certainly have other pictures where our people that are working at night in the cold, and probably we don't have as many pictures of those because it's dark and the quality of pictures is not that good. But this gives you a sense of the CWW dedicated team. You can see on the bottom right, that's an emergency failure of a water main. And then kind of diagonal across the upper left there, you can see a team of our distribution guys putting a clamp on a water main to stop the leak. And then you can see a variety of our other employees in various stages of infrastructure renewal and replacement. To kind of give you a little bit of a sense of the magnitude of our infrastructure, we have 2 water plants, we have 2 CSO plants, we have a wastewater treatment plant, we have a couple of thousand miles of water and sewer lines. And if we were to replace all of those assets in today's dollars, it would probably cost about $2.5 billion, and that's probably a low estimate. I've seen some plant expansion costs or new plant costs that would tend to say that's a pretty low number. So just gives you a little magnitude of the scope of the infrastructure that we have and maintain and operate to serve our customers. And all this infrastructure has a service life, and it varies widely depending on what the nature of the component of the infrastructure is. Some of the high-tech info type equipment, generally lower cost items, they have pretty short service lives a lot of times because the technology is advancing so fast that that they become obsolete in some cases. But then we have on the other end of the spectrum infrastructure like water mains that can last 75 to 100 years. We have some water mains still in our system that were put in the late 1800s. And they're still in service. And we have even reinvested in those old mains by going in and cleaning out the inside of the pipe and then putting a cement coating liner in it to extend the life of the pipe. So those pipes that are already 100 or 125 years, we may well get another 100 years out of those pipes. So that's just one of the examples of the many things that CWW does to try to prolong the life of infrastructure, reinvest it in real cost-effective ways. If we had to go in and open cut, replace all those old mains, it would cost a lot more than that cleaning and lining project that we do. Generally, on a wastewater collection system, we've been reinvesting in those pipes at the tune of about $2.3 million a year. Our water distribution system piping, we've been recently investing about $2.2 million a year. Overall, on all of our infrastructure reinvestment over the last 5 years, it's averaged about $27 million a year. So if you're a bit of a math whiz and you're thinking, okay, you got $2.5 billion worth of assets, and the life can vary from 5 to 75 years on some of those assets. Spending $27 million a year, whole system at that rate would be replaced in, 90 years. So it lets us know we've got to do long-term planning to make sure that we don't have big rate increases because we didn't foresee some failures coming. So we do a lot of planning. We have an annual capital improvement planning that we do on a 5-year cycle that helps us to do an evaluation of the condition of our assets, and also looks at regulatory issues that may be coming our way, and capacity issues in our system. And that way we can do long-term planning on what our needs are, and then finance those in a way that has minimal impact to our customers. So I think the need to increase our annual expenditures to avoid failure is something that we're focused on. Certainly don't want to send the message that the sky is falling, because I think we're doing a great job. We're maintaining the system pretty well, but like I said, we can't take our foot off the gas and coast. We've got to keep leaning forward into maintaining, renewing, and replacing our infrastructure. And this is just another slide of some of our team out battling against this failing infrastructure. You can see a water main up at the upper left that's ruptured, and you can see three guys in the lower picture repairing a water main, and one of our guys to the right there is tightening up a clamp on a water main. It does that under pressure so that the pipe stays pressurized. There's no water getting back into that pipe because it's pressurized, it's blowing out, but it allows the main to stay under a little bit of pressure so the customers stay in water, so the water stays clean, and we don't interrupt service in that approach. To the bottom right, you'll see a recent picture of a sewer line where you can see there's a hole in the bottom right side, and this sewer line obviously is at the end of its service life. Of course, it hasn't failed yet. When we can find a line like this, and we can use a technique similar to what you see on the far right, where we pull in lines or pipe burst a line like this and pull in a new pipe. That way it helps us avoid street collapses like you see in the upper picture there with a cone, where you see the collapse beginning to occur in that roadway. And if you get to the point where you have a failure, then you also would have a lot of street pavement replacement, and your costs begin to increase a lot. So we try to catch our sewer lines certainly before they get in that condition, and we could do a more cost-effective renewal of those lines like you see there on the right. And here's just a snapshot of a few of our recent larger capital projects. These are usually ones done by contractors. Just to give you a little scope of the size of a vessel down at our wastewater treatment plant, the upper left is a tank that had a cover on it. That cover had reached the end of its useful life, and we had contracted this out. We competitively bid and contracted and awarded the contract to a contractor. And about the time he was mobilizing on site, that lid collapsed. So we got all the useful life out of that lid that we could. And so that is now we have a new lid on that digester down there. Down at the bottom left, you can see the contractors inside one of our pipes in the plant where the interior of that pipe was beginning to show corrosion and wear, and he is putting a protective liner on there to extend the life of that pipe. Those middle two pictures just show a little bit of infrastructure work done at our water treatment plant. They're putting the foundation in for a couple of chemical bulk storage tanks there. It's a recent project. To the far right, you will see a local contractor is floating out a new pipe across Lake Oliver to replace an existing sewer pipe that pumps sewage under Lake Oliver through that pipe. So that pipe, we suspect, was getting close to the end of its useful life. So we put this new pipe in. He digs a trench. He drops the pipe into the trench, and he anchors down in place. And so this eliminates the risk of having a pipe that is beginning to fail and discharge sewage into the lake. So this, again, is an example of a project that we do for environmental protection benefit. So a few of the things that drive our cost efficiency, and here again, we try to maintain the system as cost effectively as we can, because that all translates into the cost of our service to our customers. So we try to do this as well as we can, because we care about the financial impacts to our customers on our rates. So when we go out and bid construction works, we do that through a competitive process. Similarly, we get competitive pricing for materials and services. So we try to drive the best price value we can get. We utilize qualified consultants. We have a qualification-based selection process by which we use engineers that are well skilled in designing projects that will help us design projects with the right kind of materials, the right operational benefits, and be long enduring with low operational cost. And we also seek the most cost-effective debt financing. We've just recently, our next capital improvement program, we've recently got an excellent interest rate from Georgia Environmental Facilities Authority. I think several years ago when we were doing our financial planning, we may have been looking at bond rates at something like a 2 to 3% interest rate. We've got this GFA rate. Because we're a water first city, it means we have attained certain standards for our water system to be able to qualify for this discounted interest rate. But we've got a 0.13% interest rate on this new infrastructure investment we'll be making. And I think over the life of that loan, I think it's 3 separate loans, and they'll be paid off in 20 years. But I think because we've gotten such a low interest rate, we'll save about $25 million over the life of that investment. So there again, trying to do all of these things to drive the value to our customers. And we also try to drive cost efficiency, this concept, into our culture by all employees, just knowing the value of what they're doing and trying to be as cost effective as they can. We also are diligent about ensuring our financial performance in terms like meeting our bond rating, coverage on bonds, and also making sure that we have our reserves, that we're above our minimum threshold for reserves. And since 2002, we've been doing this annual financial analysis that has allowed us to provide low annual rate adjustments to levelize our rate increases, and that way to try to minimize the cost impact to our customers as best we can. I think Alex might have a slide that helps clarify this point a little better. And we do long-term planning. We have been doing it for decades now, where we do a lot of our infrastructure planning on 5-year cycles. Like I mentioned, we will, this kind of we go in and do an assessment through an engineering effort of a facility master plan update. Then we prioritize the projects that we need to try to fund. And then we fund the projects. GFA fund is an example, and then we design and build. So generally, this is about a 5-year cycle to go through all that from the time we conceptualize and prioritize projects to the time we finish those projects. So it's just an ongoing cycle, and it seems to be a good systematic approach for us to keep our infrastructure in a good, orderly fashion to serve our customers. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Alex.
Well, thank you, Mr. Davis, and thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. Columbus Waterworks maintains a 5-year financial plan to ensure we are financially sound, not only today, yet also in the future. Each year, this plan is reviewed and updated based on current and relevant information. Over the next few slides, we will review some of the highlights from this plan. This graph reflects the system-wide average rate increases historically from 2003 all the way through 2020. Prior to 2002, as Mr. Davis referenced, the rolling 5-year financial plan and the rate increases were not as consistent. As you can see, this led to several years of significant rate increases during 2003, 2004, and 2005. Since this time, Columbus Waterworks has maintained smaller system average rate increases in an effort to provide affordable water to our customers. In this slide, we're going to explore the historical rate changes and how CWW rate changes are compared to the national average. This schedule reflects a 5-year look back and a 5-year look forward, comparing not only the national average, the model projection, and the proposed or the actual system increases. We can see while the national average for this time frame was an estimated 6% increase or 6.2% average increase over the entire time, CWW maintained increases over the relevant time frame of 3.66%. And this schedule does reflect an estimate of 6% for the projection years going out forward. So that's probably a conservative estimate on the national average too. Overall, we can see the 5-year financial plan continues annual increases that minimize the long-term impact to our customers. It supports future operating and infrastructure investment needs. Also, as part of this increase, we are proposing an increase to the low-income credit of $1 per month. Currently, CWW offers a low-income credit of $7.50 per month. This amount will be increased to $8.50 per month if approved through the program. If approved, the proposed 3.75% across the board rate increase will result in the following increases to include both base charges and volumetric charges for our customers. This reflects a base charge for customers with a typical 5/8-inch meter. 97% of CWW residential customers have a 5/8-inch meter. To simplify, if your bill is around $52.40, including a garbage fee of $18, then the proposed total rate increase would result in a $1.29 per month increase to your bill. If your bill is around $66.52, which also includes the $18 garbage fee, then your proposed total rate increase would be about $1.82 per month. If your bill is around $76.90, which also includes the $18 garbage fee, then you would result in a $2.21 increase on your bill per month. These reflect a usage of about 3,000 to 4,500 and 6,000 gallons, as we can see, per month. The majority of our CWW residential customers are users in the amounts of between 3,000 and 4,500 gallons. Therefore, they will expect an increase of about $1.29 or $1.82 on their water bill each month. This graph depicts how Columbus Water Works compares to other cities. This is a typical or 3,000 gallon per month user bill with a 5/8 inch meter. As you can see, we are lower than other cities of similar size and much lower than a city like Atlanta. We are slightly higher than Phoenix City. The Columbus affordability column reflects the typical user that is receiving the $8.50 low-income credit proposed through the Columbus Water Works low-income credit program. In summary, consistent annual rate adjustments lead to lower long-term rates. This is consistently lower, as we can see, than the historical national averages, which were reflected at 6%. The revenue stability is necessary to sustain clean drinking water and the health of our streams and rivers. There is a continued need, as we talked about, to reinvest in infrastructure through capital improvements. We also proposed the additional dollar increase to the low-income credit. Thank you for your time, and at this time, I'll turn it back over to Vic Birchfield.
Thank you, Steve and Alex, for that great information. At this time, we will proceed into the questions that have been submitted from our viewers. If you have joined us late, and you have a YouTube account, you may submit questions live through the chat feature on YouTube. We ask that you please keep your questions related to the topic of rate strategy presented this afternoon. So as I'm looking, we don't have any questions coming in right now. So what I'll do is just, if you have a question you want to ask, we'll give you a little bit of time to ask that question through chat. And in the meantime, I'll ask a few questions of our panel. Alex, we'll ask you this question. So let's say my bill is currently $50. What can I expect to see as an increase each month?
Okay, if your total monthly bill is $50, which includes the $18 garbage fee line item that's reflected on your bill, then the proposed rate increase would result in about $1.20 per month increase. The garbage fee of $18 will remain the same.
Okay.
If your total monthly bill is $50, excluding the $18 garbage fee, and your total bill is about $68 per month, then the proposed rate increase will result in about $1.88 increase per month.
Okay, thank you. That sounds good. Billy, we'll ask you this question. Why does it cost 3 to 5 times more money to replace emergency infrastructure failures rather than planned replacements?
Well, obviously, emergencies can happen anytime, day or night. And there's two things that we try to do immediately. One is safe up the site and to protect the moving public around us. And the second thing is to minimize the impact to our customers. And in order to do that, we have to respond to that emergency very quickly, which means that we don't have time to go out and take competitive bids from contractors to fix the work. So we end up paying a premium for the contractor's labor, materials, overhead, and their equipment.
Okay, appreciate that, Billy. Another question while we're waiting. Still don't see any questions coming in from chat, so we'll continue on. Kevin, this will be for you. What are some of the examples of infrastructure projects that the Waterworks is currently working on?
Well, one is what Steve mentioned earlier, the cleaning and lining project on the distribution system, where we are essentially extending the useful life of a current pipe, where we go in there and clean the old liner off, concrete cement liner, and apply a new cement liner. We are doing something very similar in the collection system, where we are extending the useful life of pipe by putting in a liner in that system as well. These are all just somewhat rehabilitating the structural integrity of existing pipe. We've also have projects at both of our water and wastewater plants, but mainly to replace aging infrastructure. It's not just infrastructure that is reached its useful life, end of its useful life by age, but also based off its work order history. Some of it's just mechanical issues, and some of it's just due to the conditions that this equipment faces, the harsh environments at our wastewater facilities. So we've got projects going on both those locations. And again, as Stephen mentioned in the slide, we've got a lift station. We had a lift station project recently completed at Marina Cove. And that's just some examples of someone we have currently.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. We do have a live question coming in, and this will be addressed to Steve. What would all go into the board's decision in approving the proposal mentioned earlier?
We will collect up and summarize public comments and summarize those and share them to the board. And so based on the nature of those comments, we would, as the staff, we would look and see if we think we need to make any adjustments to our recommendation to the board. So we'd have to wait and see what comments we get. I can't speculate what we may see, but I think our boards clearly understands that we're very infrastructure intensive organization, and our mission to serve our customers is dependent on that infrastructure. So I think it would have to be a very compelling case for us to not recommend reinvesting in our infrastructure, and I can't imagine what that compelling case might be. But we're open to comments from our stakeholders and customers.
Appreciate that, Steve, and just encourage our viewers to go ahead and submit those questions in. While we continue to wait on some more to come in, I'll ask this question of Alex about our low-income credit program. How does a customer apply for the low-income credit?
Well, that's a great question. And I know we talked about the Columbus Waterworks low-income credit several times during the presentation. You may apply by contacting the Citizen Service Center with the Columbus Consolidated Government by calling 311 or 706-653-4000. You may request an application, and the application will be mailed directly to your address. The completed application and paperwork can then be mailed back to the address that's reflected on the application. They do not accept phoned applications at this time, yet they would be glad to assist you when you receive your paper application, and they'd be glad to help you in filling out the application over the phone.
Okay, appreciate that, Alex. While we continue to wait, let's go on to another question. Steve, we'll ask this of you. Why does the Waterworks use a financial model to predict what rates will be in the future? Why not just plan year to year?
Well, I think the financial model allows us to be proactive as opposed to reactive. In a proactive environment, we can look at what our O&M trends are. We can look at what our infrastructure needs are and plan to meet those costs and spread those costs out over time into the future. Whereas if we just waited year to year, our capital needs would spike up substantially when we identified some infrastructure that needed to be replaced. And I think you got a little glimpse of that maybe in one of Alex's first slides when we had some of those real high rate increases. I think that was the kind of the norm before we began doing this rolling financial analysis. It used to be kind of no rate increases for a little while and then very large increases. So we believe that is more painful to our customers. It's harder to budget your household around just sporadic, more erratic rate increases.
Okay, appreciate that. And we'll continue a few more minutes to allow our viewers time to submit a chat question. Alex, we'll go on to you for a minute. And this is a concern during the pandemic that we're in. Why is the waterworks increasing rates during this period of the pandemic?
Well, I think here at Columbus Waterworks, we certainly want to ensure that we are taking care of our customers. And one way to ensure that they're not experiencing these extreme rate increases, as that we've talked about throughout the presentation, and reasons why they might experience those. Consistent annual adjustments lead to lower long-term rates. As Mr. Davis also stated, the cost of replacing failed infrastructure under emergency situations can be 3 to 5 times higher than planned replacements. It is also very important that we have necessary funding to ensure proper maintenance of our infrastructure, thereby reducing the occurrence of these emergency situations. During COVID, CWW has responded to the needs of customers by offering customer payment plans. While Columbus Waterworks has always offered payment plans, the dates were extended during this time to 6 months if needed, and Columbus Waterworks customer service representative worked with each customer to set up a plan. In addition, Columbus Waterworks stopped disconnecting services between March, lasting through the latter part of June. Prior to resuming any disconnections, Columbus Waterworks distributed door hangers to each individual customer, offering payment arrangements as well as encouraging customers to contact 211 for agency assistance if it was needed. Columbus Waterworks also waived delinquent fees during this time and has continued to waive them in an effort to relieve any financial burden our customers may be experiencing. We have worked and continue to work with our customers, as we do not want to see them have interruptions of service. Rather, we want to ensure that they have clean, safe drinking water.
Okay, appreciate that, Alex. It doesn't look like we've got any other questions coming in from our viewers. So at this time, we want to thank you for attending this afternoon. And we want to thank our presenters and support staff for participating in the town hall meeting today. And we certainly appreciate the viewers for your time this afternoon. And we hope that this has been informative for you. Our next virtual town hall meeting will be Wednesday, November the 4th at noon, where we will be doing a repeat of today's presentation. Please be sure to check our Facebook page or website for any updated link information. This concludes our town hall meeting, and we hope you have a pleasant evening.